All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching this ahead of time. It's important to Emmerich and I. As Humanofort's a huge part of our life, and we believe it should be a huge part of everybody's life. We're going to explain today the difference between some of these synthetic peptides and these oligopeptides, fibroblast growth factors, um, like embryonic growth factors, embryonic stem cells, things like that. And the fact that a lot of these individual peptides, even that people are buying, Humanofort will create within your own body. And it's all done in a way that it doesn't throw things out of whack and is not going to cause any problems. And not only is it incredible for healing and recovery and things like that, we'll go over some of those things as we go. But today we want to make a main point on people being skeptical about being oral because they're used to all these junk, and I used to sell them years ago as myself, these synthetic peptides that some do absolutely nothing, and some are okay. Like myself personally, I use melanotan, but Humanofort otherwise is the only thing I'll ever need because it creates all the peptides for recovery and healing and neurological issues, bone, skin, muscle, everything. Okay, so Emmerich's going to do some talking about that quick. We'll even show you a CAT scan of a kitten that was born prematurely and didn't have any ligaments or retinas. And once you're cut from the umbilical cord, you can't get these any growth factors anymore, and it would have been crippled or died. And it was given Humanofort outside the womb and it finished developing. So from there, I'm going to hand it off to Emmerich.
Yes. So regarding the synthetic or exogenous peptides created in the market, and of course, I'm not saying anybody don't use it because up to each individual, but this synthetic exogenous peptides, it's well demonstrated that it would create something in the body to create some benefits. However, when you introduce some in your body something you're not born with in. So the growth factors, peptides, humanofort, be born, and it's our body makes them daily. And some of those growth factors diminishing with age, same as hormones. And
Yeah.
that's why you see at older age, you see dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, because the particular growth factor, peptide, neurogrowth factor, is responsible to keep the neurons in good range. So right now, you're not going to be able to find any synthetically made neurogrowth factors on the market. Now, uh, as Mike mentioned, that kitten was born without being finished in the wound. We're going to show that because those people they're skeptical that it doesn't work orally. So if it would not work orally, that would never happen. The kitten wouldn't happen. Also, some publication we have on metabolic syndromes. Dr. Serrano conducted three separate pilot studies. The first was because he could not believe anything existing like this, so he was very skeptical. So when he did a study, we can share again that letter said that that's the first time we see something natural which only regulates what need to be regulated. Everything in a good range, it escapes the same way. And that demonstrates that the Humanofort regulates, and because with growth factors with born in during, so when you take this orally, because it's part in our living tissues and all over the body, it's identical. That's why recognize and accepting it. So, for example, you have a normal levels of connective growth factor, we'll leave them alone. Well, usually connective tissue growth factors are diminishing also with age. So when you take this collagen supplements over the counter, vitamin C for better absorption, the problem is the connective tissue growth factor to accumulate this collagens and just send them when it's supposed to be. Also, these growth factors we're talking about in Humanofort, they are responsible. Anything happens in your body, minerals, vitamins, proteins, whatever you take, without this growth factor, those growth factors, they're like conductors. They are the working repair, uh, uh, I would say, like in the construction, you have electrician, you have the painters, whatever. So these growth factors are the workers and repairs all over the body. Now, what's very important, the signaling and communication between these peptides. Now, synthetic growth factors or peptides introduced to your body, because they're not from developed inside in our body, and this can interfere. It shows an interferes. So when it interferes, can totally disrupt the normal communication between what we have in our body and can have side effect. That's why people they jumping on these peptides, and I see people pushing it. They don't know what they're talking about because they're all looking for making extra bucks. However, down the road, I would say maybe a couple more years, they're gonna find out some peptides they will stimulate cancer. Some peptides would downregulate mucus in your gut. So it's too early to jump on every these synthetic peptides. Now, regarding the other synthetic peptides, which is very popular, the GLP-1. The GLP-1, of course, I would say is somebody obese, like 400 pounds, and it's, when you're that way, you have to exercise yesterday. If they start on a GLP-1, I understand, but just for a short period of time. When they lose enough weight, when they start able exercising, then they don't have to do that. For that GLP, for example, we have, can you see this?
Yeah,
Can you see the bottle? So the
Humanofort.
Humanofort, actually the growth factor, one of the growth factors in Humanofort, growth factor 21, has role enhancing GLP-1.
That's what our body releases when we fast.
Yes,
And that's
also,
what creates autophagy that
yeah,
breaks down dead cells and then rebuilds them
yeah,
new.
yeah. And also now
And
we have other product developed. It's the MMB 750, which has a short chain fatty acid, which helps GLP-1 secretion. So now I have two supplements here. You can replace the GLP. Now, I see some people, they purely, they maybe are like 20% body fat, and they jump on GLP. That's a big mistake because 20%, even 30% body fat, exercise plus with this combination, you regulate all the GLP production. Now, going back to that kitten, the reason that happened in a kitten, everything was developed not just because the fibrous growth factor, not just because the connection growth factor, not just because uh, 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 epidermal growth factors, to able to finish a creature or a living culture like even humans or animals, to able to finish everything full development in embryo stage, you need everything this growth factors, peptides, messaging RNAs, and you need the pluripotent stem cells. Now, umbilical cord doesn't have pluripotent stem cells, it has young stems which can be injected and helps 1, 2, 3 things in your body. That's one thing. Now, if that kitten, we gave him one of these peptides, existing market, it would never happen. For that, like I mentioned, you need all the growth factors, pluripotent stem cells, and messaging RNAs. Without that, wouldn't happen. So I don't know if you can put up that kitten.
Yeah, I'll throw that picture up.
The reason we're putting up this kitten because I see people's, oh, it's impossible. This is not going to make no way to work taking oral because the gastrointestinal acid will destroy him. Beside that, if anybody goes up and check into the US and the international patent, and a patent is not everything disclosed. When you make a patent, you don't have to disclose every single thing. So you can see that beside this embryonic
Here,
growth factors peptides will
that's
be
when it's
accepted.
done. Here's when it was, there's when it was born.
Okay, so this one here, can you see my arrow?
I can't see your arrow, but I can point.
Okay, so point your arrow on the before.
This is before. I have it on before right now.
Okay, the before, if you see, the kidney was not able to straight out his legs, had no ligaments, tendons. And if you go on the after 6 months, there is see everything was developed. Also, probably able guys not gonna be able to see because maybe small, but I can also when the podcast go live, I'm gonna also put on the Facebook. And when you see closely the before, it's a male kitten had no even testicle developed, and then in this one you can see developed his testicles. The reason is that because also has
I
active.
can zoom in on that right there. I'm going to zoom in just a touch. And now we can see the testicles behind the right
Okay,
there.
so now activin is very important in males for testicular development and also function. So that's why we're gonna talk about TRT. So by seeing the tendons, ligaments, plus he developed the testicles and the retina, the kidney wasn't able to see. And I'm gonna post up because the video on YouTube anybody can go see. It's called Timmy the Miracle Cat. It will show the little gray cat walking around. Now, now, so hopefully everybody understands what's the difference between growth factors peptides from embryo stage versus made in lab. Hopefully it's clear. If not, maybe Mike, you can add something into it so people understand much better.
Yeah, what, in layman's terms, guys, there's a lot of guys for some reason think, and we saw a post the other day, some guy was skeptical about a product because it's oral and then there's, neurological growth factors. And he was being very as if he knew everything. And I had replied, look into some studies because there are actual studies now done there that have proven that certain growth factors taken orally work better than if they injected them even intravenously because they actually start working in the gut. They start working in the intestine and it branches out from there into the whole body. And Humanofort, it's just that has some of the same growth factors that are in mother's milk after a baby is born. There is what is in a fertilized egg that comes through the umbilical cord to the baby. Now, these growth factors even produce BPC 157 that everybody's paying so much for. Just take more Humanofort. We have athletes that, regular people just take a couple a day, they'll get the health benefits. But we have many athletes and even clients of mine that are willing to talk about the more of it you take, the more results you see. And it depends largely upon what issues you have and like what level you're training at, things like that. There's a reason it was originally so big in bodybuilding was because the recovery aspect. You could train a muscle multiple times a day if you took enough of it and ate enough protein, and there's nothing that could do that. And it also makes you the cell, it communicates all your cells together and all your receptors will work at high degree. Now, say people have blood sugar issues and their insulin receptors are dimmed down because of abuse of carbohydrates, for example. Taking the Humanofort will turn those receptors back up all the way so they do their full job. The same thing with androgen receptors. So your own testosterone, you get the most out of it, things like that.
Yeah.
The thiamin 5B4 or TB500, that's another one, but that's just a couple. Humanofort will create all of them. And after I had my quadruple bypass, I was taking 4 Humanofort a day, and the scar from cutting my chest open and ripping my rib cage apart was completely healed in 4 weeks, and it usually takes 12. So,
Yeah.
and I have, you can hardly tell now. It's
Yeah.
like,
The other,
you see it.
also, I want to mention that uh, the Humanofort has two fractions. So has fraction one and fraction two. Fraction one, it's a smaller Daltons than fraction two. So not regular people, medical doctors, since 1993, so I launched this. Some medical doctors way back, they remembered me talking about, and now they contacted me because back then they didn't know too much about growth factors. Yeah. So fraction one and fraction two, I mentioned that when get separated, that get put together again, and that's became Humanofort because showed fraction two does something fraction one doesn't do. For example, fraction two is the one that has the GLP. Fraction two has the triglyceride, cholesterol. Now, fraction one has an other effect, memory support, also testicular function, all those. So it's just so complex, then it's almost, it would take us forever because so far we've discovered 23 growth factors. There's going to be more growth factors to discover in the future. So these growth factors also separate, they make different families and they work together. They work all in harmony. So that's why I'm really focusing on health and longevity, because this is not originally when I started. I was retired from competing in bodybuilding. I used to be the sole importer of the Trivistan from Bulgaria. And at one point, the FDA stopped and to me to import commercially the Trivistan to be at health food stores.
Because
So I went to
was
do
more effective than Clomid.
So yes. So the next subject I want to talk about TRT for men and women. Last time we had a podcast, we said that we're going to focus a little more also on women, because women, when see Humanofort and see bodybuilders, they all get scared. So I do white label for medical doctors. They use the word Humanofort because usually if somebody is not in bodybuilding, it's just somebody 60, 70, 80 have a health issue, they have high blood pressure, bad cholesterol, they cannot sleep, they have aches and pains. If those Google information Humanofort and see bodybuilders, they all get scared. So
Yeah.
that's why medical doctors, they create their own name. I have a medical clinic actually change the name and calls them Hypothalamus Restore. That's the name. And then going back to the woman benefits, it's a very beneficial PMS, the Humanofort PMS. Also, post-menopause, the combination of Humanofort and Tristan, it cannot be anything better. Also, this combination can use for fertility. People, they have issues, miscarriage, etc. That can be used also for that. Now, a control study using 3 drugs, very popular for fertility,
HCG.
fertility, and one was Clomid, was used by bodybuilders with HCG after getting off heavy cycles to start to restore testicular function, etc. So the Tristan in a control study had the same results as those 3 doses Clomid included with 0 side effects. However, it also has a really good benefits for prostate health, for the prostate. Also helps protein synthesize. So it's the 2 products totally different, the Humanofort and the Tristan is 2 different products. This, we do exist.
We have many, many things that Humanofort does that we know,
exist.
but we can't say cure because we don't want the FDA doing what they did with Tristan.
Yeah. So I mentioned the messenger RNAs. That's something we're going to see more and more and more and more and more and more and more in the future. Because this it's from embryo stage development, the Humanofort, it has many thousands of messenger RNA. I just mentioned one issue and what happened. Everybody knows that Robbie Robinson suffers with sickle cell anemia, and he was not aware of his death till, hold a second, till somebody gave him Trembolone, which was not the Trembolone, it was a real Parabolin. And when took the Trembolone, woke up and made his sickle cell active. So we're going to talk about Trembolone too. So that's how discovered has a sickle cell. So he was on Facebook asking all the followers to help him out, even $1 donation, because he has insurance because he was in the military, but that doesn't cover everything. So when I called him, he told me straight, American, you know, I have no money and I don't know what this works. I said, it's Robbie, no, it's nothing. It's all free. I'm just very curious because I have good results on even Huntington disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and I'm very curious if it would help you because what it is, it has all the messenger RNAs, which are very important in the vascular development, blood cells. I was curious that it would do anything for somebody who was born with the genetic order. So anyway, in 2026, I started working with him in 2014. So I'm not going to make any claim it's a cure because I can't a cure, but however, he's a silent carrier. Also, I helped 6 kids in Uganda to a church. They contacted me, and all those 6 children, now the young adults, they all became silent carriers. That means silent carrier is still there, but it's silent. So it may be active again, then they can take again supplements. So the reason I'm mentioning this, because it's a messenger RNA which can totally reform the entire blood system. So that's why it's Robbie Robinson results. Now, I did tried to help people with sickle cell in the United States. I contacted and became member in the Facebook, and they're all ignoring it. Where's the study? Where's the study? First of all, uh, I'm not allowed to do a study as a drug because it's not a drug. It's unnatural. So if you, for example, UC Davis, I spoke with UC Davis before to conduct a study on dogs with a Cushing disease, and they said if I'm not submitting it as a drug, they're not going to do study. Same thing with Stanford. They said they can do a study on sickle cell, but they have to raise as a drug. So it's not a drug. The inventor, he told me straight out, this is not a drug, and I don't want anybody to register anything drug, but it's not a drug. It's a dietary supplement because it's natural source, natural occurring. It's nothing synthetic. I mentioned this only so people are going to see more and more on the messenger RNAs, and we
That's
don't know.
also, though, why it's allowed in college sports, the NFL, and the UFC now.
Yeah, yeah. Now let's go to the TRT. Okay,
Mhm.
so uh, I did my first bodybuilding contest only on Humanofort and Tribistan, no any testosterone. So I think I told the story, but let's repeat this story again because since last time we spoke, we have a couple more hundred new followers. So let them also know. So I did my first contest. Only reason I was very curious if I stand next to Ronnie Coleman, Kevin LeBron, back then in the 90s, you weren't competing, you only missed the Mr. Olympia was doing this, he didn't compete, but all these guys, they have to compete to requalify. Yeah? So I was just curious if I stand on stage, they left on me. And I was very surprisingly, first thing Ronnie Coleman said to me, wow, how old are you? And I told him I'm 44. And I said, wow, I hope I'm going to look like that at age 44. So Nasir, as somebody was by hearing the conversation, and then he told Ronnie Coleman, oh, Emmerich is the Tristan man. So then Ronnie Coleman told me that his girlfriend, Vicky Gates, who also was a pro bodybuilder lady, she wants to try out this Tristan for a long time, but is not sure of how it works, etc. So that's how we shared phone numbers with Ronnie, and that's how we became friends, and that's how I was involved keeping him healthy. I
Right.
had nothing to do with his drug cycles. That was Chad Nichols, not me. I just helped him. I supplied him the Humanofort for 9 years and the Tribistan. A little story on Tribistan. When Ronnie Coleman won Mr. Olympia that year, he had a contract with Scott Conley Metrics, and it was Milos had a contract with Scott Conley. Lila Brother uh, is one of the very smartest bodybuilder because he did has just a contract. He also has a profit share, shared on the stock something, so he has a share in the company, the Metrics. So Joe Weider, because we were friends, he know that I'm friends with Ronnie. So Joe called me and asked me, "Can you talk with Ronnie to come and sign a contract with Weider?" Because I opened the door uh, many years ago for any race nationality, opened the door for competition because during Bob Hoffman era, Bob Hoffman didn't let uh, just he let only like people,
Foreigners.
white people competing. So Joe opened the door, black, Asians, whatever. So I called Ronnie. So Ronnie told me, "Oh, Emmerich, I'm not going to leave Scott Conley because I have a beautiful contract, and now I won Mr. Olympia, so that was a little over $100,000, and then uh, Scott Conley, any contest I will do in the future, and I to win first place. For example, we have a Grand Prix $10,000. First place, he match immediately with the bonus 10,000. If I win Mr. Olympia again, gonna be maybe $120,000. He gives me another $120,000 bonus. That was Ronnie's response. I called Joe, and Joe asked me, "Can you ask Ronnie that call Scott Conley and ask him if he can guarantee him Mr. Olympia, or he can guarantee he's going to win any other show in a contest?" So I called Ronnie, and when I told him how this goes, he realized that if he doesn't go with Joe, then no more Olympia and no more first place placing in a contest, no more bonuses. So he said, "Okay, America, can you negotiate for me?" Because I told him, he said, "Here's his office number, and you can call him, talk to him." And asked me, "Ronnie, can you negotiate for me?" I said, "Okay." So I don't know, I should mention how much money was involved. But anyway, I asked double what Scott Conley was playing Ronnie for the whole year for metrics. I asked the double, and then I called Joe, because Ronnie, I said, "Do you think so? He's gonna pay me same amount like Scott Conley?" I said, "What you want me to ask?" He said, "Well, whatever you feel like, but I don't want to get too much less than Scott Conley." So I told Joe how much he's getting, and him to leave, he needs double of that. And Joe said, "It's no problem, no problem." So agreed. But in the meantime, Joe told me something. I said, "Do not tell to Ronnie Coleman." He said, "Scott Conley in the process to sell Metrics, the company. And when he sell the Metrics, all those guys with the contract will be gone." He asked me, "Don't tell him." Because he said, not that many people know that back then. Joe know, because, how's this business competition? So then I told Ron, "Everything's on go. You're gonna get whatever I told him." Then he said, "Oh, can you didn't said no. Can you call him, ask for more?" I said, "Hey, listen, I know Joe. He's a businessman." So he realized that even he had on a contract Kevin, Sean Ray, all these guys, because the story was this: when Mr. Olympia, about 2 weeks before Mr. Olympia, Flex called Joe, and he said that he's signing a contract with the other company, and thank you for all your support, but this sport is very expensive, blah, 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 blah. So because his contract was up to renew after the Olympia, because Joe was very smart.
And that was the upsetting year that Ronnie won. And
So Joe, so people did this, that Joe is all business. He did not care you black, white, Asian. He was business. He thought that this person can bring me money. He signed a contract. So then, so I was talking with Ronnie. Everything was okay. So I was in the middle. I still have a copy of a contract. I was between Joe's attorney and Ronnie. I was in the middle to be sure that Ron understand everything. Everything's agreeable. So then Ron asked me, "How about the Humanofort and the Tribistan? Do I have to pay for?" Because I was supplying him as a friend, yeah. I said, "You know what? Let me add to the contract that also you're asking Joe Weider to cover the cost of the Tribistan." Because at that point, I had a Humanofort, but the Tribistan was actually my main moneymaker from 1980 2007 tour, the Soform became private, and they cut my contract too. So then I added in the contract that Joe either has to cover the cost or buy the TV stand for him, for the TV stand. Everything agreeable. So we went to his office, we signed a contract, but I want to tell you something, that his first year was beautiful contract. First year he got no any other, not even during Yates was accumulating that much money. But after the second year, he was the first pro bodybuilder was making with Joe Weider $1 million a year, all the way to he lost his Mr. Olympia. Then the other time we're gonna go in why he lost the Mr. Olympia. So now, when this happened, Flex Wheeler said that when Joe decided and told to Wayne that he's going to be a new Mr. Olympia, not Flex Wheeler. And they said, who we're going to be? I said, one of the guys. I said, well, one of my guys is the best, yes, but if anybody there is not with me and he's the best, I want that guy. I don't care who represent. And that day that Mr. Olympia, first time Ronnie Coleman won the Mr. Olympia, he was 100% sure it was the best. Because Joe could just say he gave it to Kevin, yeah? But like I said, mentioned, Joe, it's a businessman. When he saw Ronnie how it looks, he said, now this is going to open more doors everywhere. So his Joe goal was to have Ronnie Coleman beat Lee Haney's record. That was his goal. And if Ronnie would listen to me, even he would not deserve to be 10 times, he still get him politically. So, but because he decided to leave Joe and sign with BSN, after that he never won Mr. Olympia. Now, so we have a contract, we go to office. I have other story there, but we're going to leave that in other podcast.
Yeah.
On what was going behind the door behind meeting, how Ronnie had access to real testosterone, etc., etc. So then Joe calls me after we signed a contract. Joe calls me and said, Emmerich, I want you to give me a list of every single pro bodybuilder or taking Tribistan. But I said, I don't want, because this guy is a friend, that guy a friend, and just put there, it's not true. And I said, listen, if I give you a list, that's true. So back then, I gave him a list on the Tribistan was Ronnie Coleman, Vicky Gates, his girlfriend, Phil Hearn, Milo Sarchev, Claude Grulus, Akim Abrek. They were all on Tribistan. So I gave him the list to Joe. And then Joe said, I want to set a meeting, go to Salt Lake City. I want you to meet my scientist, product formator, Dr. Meduski. He was originally a Polish nutritionist doctor, very good one. So I flew to Salt Lake City, meet, and he asked me, he said, regarding his Tribistan, he said, how we can do something, then we would like to have a Tribistan with Joe Weider. Then I said, well, it's only one way. They're not going to supply raw material, but I can make an arrangement where I can import the Tribistan blister packs, and then Joe can put them in different boxes. So Joe had them on the 3 version, had one Tribistan, Muscle Tribe Tribistan, and that was endorsed by Eddie Robinson. They had a Metaform Tribistan and also had Joe Weider's signature Tribistan, signature Tribistan. So that's how Joe Weider ended up with a blister pack Tribistan. I was supplying it him. Now, going back to mattress Scott Conley, Milos had a contract, yeah? So Milos went to talk with Scott Conley, so went, sit in a lobby waiting for him. He said, he's in a meeting. I don't have up to how many hours. he couldn't wait anymore. So he opened the door, and Scott Cloney was not even in his office, you know. So because now everybody lost the contract because Metric was sold. So Milos know that I'm really close to Joe either. Then he asked me if anyway can I talk with Joe? Maybe he can get a contract. So I called Joe. I said, what's happened, and he said, "Oh, Milos is one of the other TV thing." I say, "So yeah, give me my phone number, call him. I give him a contract." So that's how Milos got his contract with Joe Weider. With Joe Weider. So the reason I'm mentioning this because uh, once the Tribistan showed up in U.S. market after at least 6 years, they started to pop up all this tribulus extract, but they were just not standard extract, and they just chop up fine powder, and they were you could buy like 120 capsules for like 950. You can tell the raw material right now. You can buy Tribulus terrestris, which is you can buy for $40 a kilo. So the reason I'm able to have this again because I decided that instead bringing Tribistan, which is not going to allow me, I just bring in the raw material and comes as Tribulus terrestris, not as Tribistan. So that's why I'm relaunching it. And we don't have it on our website yet because it's kind of, with the tariff, everything costs too much. But eventually we're going to put them on our website too.
Yeah.
And then,
And once
yeah,
people start taking it,
yeah.
they'll start buying it.
So yes. So regarding back to TRT, I'm sorry I get off on the original TRT subject.
If you
So
want, Emmerich, we can do another video
or
strictly
other follow up.
on the TRT.
Yeah, because I have so much to share
Yeah,
that it's impossible to finish,
yeah.
not even 4 hours.
And I'll I can even make a video leading up to our video with TRT.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And I promise that I'm going to start making video also on the variable listing system with bands or without bands, but myself because I started this back in the late '60s with weights. I'm kind of, but I do incorporate both the rubber bands and
yeah, we got
the
the
free
best of
weights.
both worlds now because
Yeah, yeah,
your
yeah,
training style overloaded the negative, which
yeah,
we can
yeah,
handle more load and then take it away before you push so you don't strain
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
You'll get
yeah,
more reps.
yeah.
But
Just
now we add a band to it, so as you push, you can actually overload into the concentric portion and then top load it again.
yes, yeah.
So
So so
combined, it's
so by
there's no other
by
way over to
incorporating
measure
band
that.
by adding the band is even more effective
Mhm.
because now when you do the way my system, I just make a number. You start 100 is 100 here, 100 there, all the time, 100 weight, 100 pounds. Now adding the rubber band on your chest, I'm talking about like a pressing on the chest. Now the rubber band maybe at there maybe like 20 pounds or maybe less, but now you're pressing it. Then 100 pound come 10, 20, 30, 40. So one time you extend when it's a full contracted muscle is the strongest. Now suddenly the 100 up on the top is probably 200.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now also one more before we finish this. One more thing. Don't think about Humanofort replacing steroids. It's not. It's you can't even compare the two. This it will speed up your recovery as when you were like a teenager. And I'm gonna have more and more guys now. I have more older guys, and they are reporting it. I have one person. His name is Eric in Texas. He went on and he said, unbelievable the recovery. See, he ran out 5 days and he contacted me. He said, I can't believe it. I'm not on. the
there's
recovery is
there's
just dropped again.
factors of it that are anabolic, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
not steroids, but
yeah.
it
But
doesn't, it makes you more sensitive to your
yeah,
testosterone.
okay, okay.
And
Now, next time I want to talk about the fasting diet and what to incorporate in the fasting diet to be sure that you don't lose muscle. The Humanofort has also fibrous growth factor 2, which is very important to muscle stem cell regeneration. And I have something I have to send you. Send you. I have this new uh, peptide extract from salmon's bone,
mhm,
and it can you can has a perfect uh, essential amino acid profile also. So if you take this, you may not to take any essential amino acid if you want to, but also has effect on GLP. So when you fasting, I'm talking about some bodybuilders try to fast also, but if you're one of those guys, you want a good shape, you want fasting, because fasting is healthy, but you want to be sure that you don't lose no any muscle mass. So you combine this with the Humanofort and you add fulvic humic acid because you need iron minerals when you're fasting because you don't eat. So about this three combination would preserve your muscle and you lose the fat. So I'm going to send you this uh, to try it out,
mhm.
and then we will talk more on next podcast more on TRT
Yeah,
and also fasting.
we can start breaking it down too, to, because there's so many things to cover. We can make,
Yeah,
short 20-minute videos on just very specific
yeah,
things, and
yeah.
we have more information than, like, there's
This was just an
thousands of, yeah,
overall everything, but we
yeah.
can separate each podcast. But I really want one podcast go straight out for women
Mhm.
because I see a lot of competitors over 50, 60 getting in shape and they want to use GLP. And, when you already in a stage you're competing, it's no reason to touch any GLP-1. It's in no reason.
The well, I have women that have been using Humanofort for quite a while, and a lot of buddies that give it to their women or their wives, and they get a lot of benefits and things that, like, we don't care about. A lot of the things women do, their skin gets more elastic, their nails grow longer and thicker, their hair grows longer and thicker. They My fiance could never grow nails. They were these thin things that would just brittly break off. And a month after taking Humanofort, her nails were really long and getting thicker. And she had fibrocystic breasts. And since taking it, those have been slowly reversing. And she also had started to get osteoporosis. And after 8 weeks on Humanofort, there wasn't anything anymore.
Yeah,
And that's not the only one I have that it helped with osteoporosis.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. So let's leave it there. And then next, I promise next, Mike, we're going to talk only about TRT because 150 milligram, 250 milligram is not TRT. I'm not going to mention any names,
yeah.
but well,
Well,
they're not
and that's
competing
the thing
anymore.
is,
And when
guys,
I say, he said, "Oh no!" He said, "I go for this TRT clinic, and they find out my sweet spot is 300 milligram a week."
yeah. Well, I
It's
can
not.
explain a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah. So
If they
let's
tested, if they tested their blood a week after they put them on that dose, they'd shit their pants
yeah,
because their levels would be so high. But after the 8 weeks,
yeah, yeah,
their
yeah.
SHBG catches them, but their estrogen's too high.
So it's been now over 100 days. Then I'm off TRT, and my TRT I was fooling around, sometimes 10 milligram a day, sometimes 6 milligram, but I never constantly only 10 milligrams. So I decided, so I'm actually 120 days now. I'm totally off, and I use only the Humanofort and the Tribustan, and my testosterone is over 800. And I'm trying to set up, have a podcast with Greg Rando, He's a professional bodybuilder. He has lost his vision when he was young,
Mhm.
and he's get off over 6 months, and he has the same results as Emmerich. Taking these two products, I'm over 800, and I feel great. So I'm not gonna ever touch anything. So it's a good chance for many people eventually getting able to get off, but it's not happening
A lot of
overnight.
it too is, Humanofort will balance your testosterone levels out, regrow the hypothalamus function, the adrenal
Yes,
cortex, your testicles.
yes,
But if you're training hard, Humanofort's going to help give your body that signal that it needs to produce more testosterone because you're training.
yeah,
Guys sitting on the couch thinking their testosterone levels are going to be 900 from eating chips and watching TV all day. You know, that ain't going to happen. But,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
you
So when
know,
I was young, I was a teenager. I worked out twice a day, but I didn't know anything about growth factors. So when I met the professor with Humanofort, I was 43 years old. He said, "Do you remember when you were young, you worked out, how quickly you recovered?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You take that, gonna feel the same way." So that's why when I decided competing again as a pro, I was working twice a day because the Humanofort, because my recovery. So I'm gonna try to set up podcast with older bodybuilders on their 60s, 70s, having some in 80s
yeah.
to hear their own testimonial
Mhm.
how
Yeah, we
I
got to get Brian Balzano and we got to get Milos and
well, Brian is still young. I'm going to have people way over 60
okay.
because some uh, actually I have few competing
Mhm.
again, and some they don't work out every single day twice a day, but they have 2 days a week they work out twice a day, and some they over like 65.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so let's stop it here now, and then uh, let's put together like maybe every 2 weeks put a podcast
Yeah,
together.
every couple weeks, and I'll put
Yeah,
some stuff out in between that are smaller, just
yeah,
talking about some specific things, but
yeah,
that covers plenty of stuff for what we
yeah,
wanted to cover
yeah,
for today.
yeah. And then
And then,
one day we're gonna make a podcast. I have some really nice stories. People they don't know what's
yeah,
going on, uh, in competition, all the politics, etc., etc.
yeah, yeah, we can talk about plenty of that. And
Yeah,
I have stories of my own. Um, I was involved in the politics and the coaches putting you on all the drugs and they had no idea what they were doing. And I have taught guys, like I had told you, a previous training partner of mine who's 48 on our TRT protocol and 4 Humanofort a day. He looks better and he quit working out for years. He looks better now than he did back when you were taking stuff. And all he's done is literally the 10 milligrams a day and the Humanofort, and he looks better than he's ever looked in his life. And I have another guy that I put on the TRT protocol with Humanofort, and he does some variable resistance training that just won a physique competition that's like in his 30s. But I mean, I have my own videos coming up with women and guys of all different ages
yeah,
and whatnot to talk about because even their family members have things,
yeah,
reversal of different stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So next, I want to set up a next podcast with Tony Freeman again.
Mhm.
Tony Freeman, because
Do
I
you
want his
want to
feedback
do you want to do
because
one with the three of us?
he's right now he's trying out this too. So with him, and also a podcast with Danny Pedia.
Hmm.
Danny has been taking Humanofort. Oh my God. I would say 25 years now,
Yeah, and he was
something
the
like that.
one that was known as like the giant killer.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's say goodbye to all our friends, and
Yeah.
then we catch up next podcast.
All right. Thanks for
Okay.
thanks for watching, everybody, and please stay tuned. We'll have plenty more content to come out.
Yeah. One more thing. Soccer, USA, USA. I love soccer.
Yeah. So go to humanifortusa.net. That is the website. Um, there was a lot of confusion. We had to change the website, but right now the official website is humanifortusa.net. We have the best price there. And if you buy three of any product, you get 10% off. So that way there's no confusion there.
Okay.
All right.
Well, if somebody buys four, it will get one of my work assistant book free.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll talk to my IT guy and have him put that on
Yeah.
the website. If
Yes.
if they buy four of a kind,
Yeah.
then
And then I will sign whatever orders I will sign it, especially for them. And it's maybe like 20 pages. It's not a big one. So it's not like a big book.
mhm,
Yeah.
with your variable resistance training.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Mike.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Bye,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye bye.